My cart collided with his between the cereals and chocolate bars. That's how I met Raj. It wasn't the metallic noise that struck me, but the contrast between his dark eyes and his bright smile when he apologized in Spanish with a heavy accent. Subscribe to the channel and leave a like to access more stories like this. Sorry, I'm distracted today, I said in English when I noticed his difficulty. Thank you, he replied, relieved. I've only been in Madrid for 3 months. My Spanish is still awful. My name is Kevin. I'm 34 years old, and I work as a sound engineer for an independent film production company. 5 years ago, I left Boston to live in Spain, looking for a fresh start after a long relationship ended. Madrid wasn't love at first sight, but over time, I found my rhythm in this city of contrasts. I live in a small apartment in the Malasaña neighborhood. The thin walls let me hear my neighbors arguing in Spanish too fast for me to fully catch. In the morning, I walk to my favorite cafe where the barista already knows my order. I work from home or in the studio depending on the project. And on Fridays, religiously, I do my shopping at the Mercado Central near my apartment. It was on one of those Fridays that our carts met. And the following Friday, to my surprise, I ran into Raj again, this time in the fruit section. Coincidence? Maybe. We ended up talking about mangoes of all things. He explained how to pick the best ones, knowledge he brought from India. In my hometown, we smell it first and then give it a little squeeze. It's almost like a ritual, he explained as he demonstrated gently. At 26, Raj worked as a programmer at a Spanish startup. His excitement talking about codes and algorithms was contagious, even though I didn't understand half of the technical terms he used. Soon enough, our weekly coincidences at the market became planned meetings. We exchanged numbers after our third chance encounter and began sending daily messages about our discoveries in Madrid. He shared authentic Indian restaurants, and I pointed out bars with live music. This supermarket has become our meeting spot, I once commented as we walked down the aisles. Our baskets already filled with items we bought more to prolong our time together than out of necessity. It's funny how ordinary places can become special, he replied, his fingers brushing against mine as we reached for the same can of olives. Our first kiss happened in aisle 3, between the spices and canned goods. It was a stolen moment when the supermarket was nearly empty. His lips tasted of cinnamon, probably from the mint he always chewed. As our connection deepened, the first challenges began to emerge. Raj came from a traditional family in Mumbai that expected an arranged marriage. I carried the burden of a broken heart that was still healing. My parents call every week asking when I'm coming back, he confessed while we were preparing dinner in my apartment. They've already started looking for potential brides. And what do you want? I asked, trying to hide my apprehension. I want this, he answered simply, gesturing to both of us. But I don't know how to make it work with everything else. When Raj mentioned that he needed to return to India for 2 weeks to handle family matters, I felt a knot in my stomach. The fear of losing him to cultural and family expectations mixed with my own insecurities. I'm going to tell them about you, he decided the night before his trip. I can't live divided between two worlds anymore. On the eve of Raj's departure, we decided to have dinner at my apartment. I prepared a clumsy mix of Spanish and American dishes, while he brought along Indian desserts bought at a specialty shop. The rain was tapping on the windows, creating an intimate bubble that made us feel detached from the rest of the world. I can't believe that tomorrow you'll be on the other side of the planet, I said as I poured the wine. It's only 2 weeks, Raj replied, though his eyes revealed the same apprehension I felt. After dinner, we settled onto a couch too small for 2 people, which forced us to stay close. It wasn't like either of us minded. I put on a soft playlist while Raj showed me photos of Mumbai on his phone, explaining every detail of his city with the same enthusiasm he used when talking about programming codes. This is the Arabian Sea at sunset. And here, the temples my grandmother used to take me to when I was a kid. At one point, his fingers stopped sliding through the photos. Our eyes met, and time seemed to slow down. The connection between us had grown quietly, like a plant that you don't notice has grown, until one day you see it reaching the ceiling. I'm scared, Kevin, he whispered. Not of my family, but of myself. What if I get there and don't have the courage to challenge everything I've always known? In response, I brought his hand to my face. Then I'll come to you. We'll find a way. His hand slid to my nape, bringing our faces close until our breaths mingled. The kiss began gently, almost hesitantly, but soon turned into something more urgent, as if we wanted to imprint each other's memory on our skin. The city lights created dancing shadows through the thin curtains. Our hands explored new territories with reverence and curiosity. Every undone button was a border crossed, every sigh a confirmation that we were headed in the right direction. "Can I?" I asked, my hand hovering over the last button of his shirt. His answer came in the form of a smile and a gentle nod. When our bodies finally met without barriers, it felt like we were discovering a new language, one created just for the two of us. The warmth of his skin against mine erased any remaining doubts. His hands traced invisible maps on my body, finding places even I didn't know were so sensitive. The rhythm of our movements reminded me of an improvised melody, sometimes slow and contemplative, other times urgent and intense. Sporadic beams of light flickered through the blinds, freezing images in my memory. The outline of his shoulders against the white wall, the curve of his lips as he formed my name, the way his eyelashes cast shadows on his cheeks when he closed his eyes in ecstasy. Hours melted away as we explored this new territory together. The bed became an island where only we existed, navigating moments of burning passion and pauses of quiet intimacy, where we just talked through kisses about fears, dreams, and memories. "You have a little constellation here," he observed, tracing 3 freckles on my shoulder. "It looks like Orion, and you have a racing heartbeat," I replied, resting my head on his chest. "Every time I'm with you." When we finally gave in to our exhaustion, our intertwined bodies fit together like pieces of a puzzle that had finally found their place. I fell asleep listening to his steady breathing, trying to memorize that feeling of completeness for the lonely days to come. I woke up before dawn to find Raj already awake, watching me with an expression that mixed admiration and melancholy. "What's wrong?" I asked, my voice still husky with sleep. "I'm memorizing every detail about you," he replied simply, "to take with me." That morning, time seemed to fly by. We made coffee together, moving around the small kitchen as if dancing, with every touch charged with a new meaning after the night before. I walked him to the taxi that would take him to the airport, the hardest goodbye I've had since leaving Boston. 2 weeks, he reminded me, cradling my face in his hands. 2 weeks, I repeated like a mantra. During his absence, Madrid seemed to lose some of its colors. I stuck to my routine like an actor following cues: work, cafe, supermarket on Fridays. But every activity carried the weight of his absence. During our nightly video calls, Raj seemed both close and impossibly distant, his image pixelated on my computer screen. "I spoke with my mom today," he said on the 10th night. "Not everything, but I mentioned that I met someone special." "And how did she react?" "She was silent for so long that I thought the connection had dropped," he laughed nervously. "Then she asked if this person made me happy." My heart raced. "And what did you say?" "The truth, that you make me happier than I ever imagined possible." When he finally returned, we met at the same supermarket where it all began. When I saw him appearing at the end of aisle 3, I felt a surge of emotion so intense that I had to lean against a shelf. He had cut his hair and looked exhausted from the trip, but his smile when he saw me lit something inside me that I didn't even know was fading. We hugged right there between cans of peas and corn, indifferent to the curious looks from other shoppers. His body against mine said everything that words couldn't express: longing, relief, desire, belonging. "I missed you so much it hurt physically," I confessed when we finally separated. "Me too," he replied, his eyes shining with emotion. And I realized something important while I was away. My heart skipped a beat. "What?" "That home isn't a place, it's a person. And my home now is wherever you are." That night, our reconnection was even deeper than the first time. There was a new dimension of intimacy, as if our time apart had taught us to cherish every second together. We moved with such surprising synchronicity, like our bodies remembered each other on a cellular level. Raj spoke about the difficult conversations with his family, the traditions he was breaking, the commitments he still had to meet. He talked about the fear of disappointing his parents, and the guilt he sometimes felt for choosing his own path. "But when I think about not being with you," he concluded, his fingers entwined with mine, "all the other options seem impossible." I shared my own insecurities, the fear that eventually he might miss a more traditional life, the worry of not fully understanding his culture, the concern that our worlds might be too different to reconcile. Between confessions and caresses, we built something new that night, not just desire or passion, but a mutual understanding based on vulnerability and honesty. When the early morning started to replace night, I watched Raj sleeping peacefully next to me. The soft dawn light drew patterns on his skin, and I felt an absolute certainty fill my chest. No matter the challenges we faced, what we had built was worth every obstacle. The following weeks brought adjustments and new discoveries. Raj started sleeping over at my apartment more and more, until one day we realized that half of his clothes were already in my closet. There was no formal request or serious talk, just the natural recognition that we no longer wanted to live apart. "I think we should look for a bigger place," he suggested, while we were preparing dinner in my cramped kitchen, where barely both of us could fit. At that moment, I understood that our story, which had begun by chance in the aisle of an ordinary supermarket, had transformed into something extraordinary. I looked at him, focused on chopping vegetables with the precision of someone writing lines of code, and was overwhelmed by a wave of gratitude. "I love you," I said for the first time, the words coming out naturally as if they had always been waiting for the right moment. He looked up, surprised, his smile slowly spreading across his face. "I love you too." Since aisle 3, between the cereals and chocolate bars. That night, as our bodies came together with the familiarity of lovers who already know each other's maps, I reflected on how the most transformative moments in our lives often start in the most mundane ways. A shopping cart, an accidental collision, a smile exchanged between strangers. As Raj dozed off in my arms, I realized that our journey was only beginning. There would be more obstacles, more cultural negotiations, more moments of uncertainty, but there would also be more discoveries, more shared laughter over inside jokes, more nights like this, when the world outside fades away and there's only the two of us, creating our own universe within 4 walls. 6 months after Raj returned from India, we found a larger apartment in the Chueka neighborhood, more spacious, with a small balcony where we grew herbs for cooking, and a second room that we turned into a shared office. The move symbolized the official start of our life together, a silent commitment we made without needing formalities. Our routine took on its own contours. We woke up early. Raj practiced meditation while I made coffee. On Sunday mornings, we had video conferences with his parents, who gradually started treating me more naturally, even though there was still a bit of reservation on their part. "My dad asked when you're going to meet India," Raj commented after one of those calls. The news caught me off guard. "Does that mean what I think it means?" "It means that they're trying," he replied with a hopeful smile. "And for my family, inviting someone into our home is the first step toward acceptance." We began planning a trip to Mumbai at the end of the year. Meanwhile, I tried to learn Hindi through apps and online videos, often making Raj laugh with my terrible pronunciation. He, in turn, struggled to understand American cultural references and grew fond of TV shows that I considered essential to my upbringing. Our relationship wasn't perfect. We argued about cultural differences, expectations, and even the right way to fold clothes. But every reconciliation brought us closer, as if we were constantly rebuilding our connection on increasingly solid foundations. We still went to the same supermarket every Friday, turning what used to be just a routine into a meaningful tradition. Occasionally, we purposely steered our carts toward a gentle collision in aisle 3, just to relive that first moment. It was on one of those Fridays, almost a year after our first meeting, that Raj suddenly stopped among the shelves of cereals and chocolates, exactly where our carts had collided. "I think we need to talk," he said with unusual seriousness. My stomach sank. In my experience, that phrase rarely came before good news. "What's going on?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "I got a job offer," he explained, his eyes fixed on mine. "An amazing opportunity with an Indian tech company that's expanding into the European market." I felt a momentary relief, followed by new apprehension. "In India?" "No, here in Madrid, at first." "But," he hesitated, running a hand through his hair, a gesture I knew meant nervousness. "Eventually, I'll have to spend time in Mumbai. 3 months here, 1 month there, at least during the first year." "Oh," was all I could say as I processed the information. "It's the opportunity I've always dreamed of," he continued, "to connect my 2 worlds professionally, but it means we'd be separated for periods." I looked at our half-filled cart, at the people passing by distractedly, at the very place where it all began. And then I had a sudden clarity. "Then we'll do it together," I declared. "What?" "When you need to go to Mumbai, I'll go with you. I can work remotely. I already do it half the time anyway. It would be a chance to get to know your city, your culture, to spend more time with your family." His eyes widened with surprise and hope. "You would do that? Leave Madrid for months?" "Madrid isn't going anywhere," I replied, feeling a growing certainty. "And besides, didn't you say that home is where the person you love is?" He hugged me right there, knocking over a box of cereal that rolled across the floor. An elderly lady smiled at us as she passed by with her cart. "We'll figure it out," I assured him. like we always have. On the night before Raj's formal interview for the new position, we were lying in bed, talking about future possibilities. The idea of spending time in Mumbai had already transformed from a challenge into an adventure in our minds. We could rent an apartment near my parents' house, Raj planned, his body nestled against mine. There's a neighborhood where many expats live. You'd feel less out of place. I want the authentic experience, I insisted. I didn't come to India to live in an American bubble. He laughed. You say that now. Wait until you experience Mumbai traffic or the heat in May. We spent hours like that, weaving dreams and plans between kisses and caresses until we fell asleep intertwined. The next morning I woke up first and watched his peaceful face as he slept. I thought about all the coincidences and choices that had brought us here. My move to Madrid, his work in Spain, our carts colliding in that very supermarket. Some call it chance, others, destiny. I prefer to think that among all the possible paths, we constantly choose the ones that bring us closer to the people who are meant to change our lives. When Raj got the job, we celebrated at our favorite Indian restaurant. 2 weeks later, I bought tickets to accompany him on his first trip to Mumbai as a company representative. His parents insisted that we stay at their house, at least for the first few days. They want to get to know you properly, Raj explained as we packed. In Indian culture, that means feeding you until you can't eat anymore and asking thousands of questions about your family. I'm ready, I said, more confidently than I actually felt. The trip turned out to be smoother than we expected. When we arrived at Mumbai International Airport, I was immediately enveloped by the humid heat, the intense aromas, and the vibrant energy that seemed to pulse from the very city. Raj's parents waited for us in the arrivals hall. His father, formal in a shirt buttoned up to the neck, his mother in a colorful sari, her eyes examining every detail of me. There was a moment of hesitation as we approached, a nearly tangible tension that dissipated when his mother stepped forward and hugged me unexpectedly. Welcome to our family, she said in carefully rehearsed English. In the following days, I was immersed in Indian family life, the elaborate meals, the conversations mixing English and Hindi, the morning rituals, the visits from curious relatives to meet Raj's American. I faced disapproving looks from a few older uncles, but I also received warm smiles from cousins who seemed genuinely happy that Raj had found someone. One evening, Raj's father invited me for tea on the terrace of the house. We sat in silence for a few minutes, watching the city lights stretch as far as the eye could see. My son has always been different, he finally began. Since he was a child, he questioned everything, challenged traditions. I admit that used to worry me. I nodded, unsure where the conversation was leading. When he told us about you, he continued, carefully choosing his words, it was hard for us. We had other plans, other expectations. I understand, I replied sincerely. But now, seeing how he smiles when he's around you, how his eyes light up when he talks about your life together. He paused, taking a sip of tea. I realized that my plans don't matter as much as his happiness. That simple conversation meant more than acceptance. It was an acknowledgement that love can take forms that often defy our previous notions. When we returned to Madrid, we brought back not only memories and gifts, but also the feeling that our once separate worlds were beginning to intertwine in meaningful ways. Today, nearly 2 years after that first meeting at the supermarket, our life has reached a balance I never imagined possible. We travel regularly between Spain and India, maintaining apartments in both countries. I learned enough Hindi for basic conversations with Raj's family, while he adapted seamlessly to European life. We still shop at the same supermarket every Friday when we're in Madrid. It has become our unique ritual, a way to honor the beginning of our story. Sometimes we deliberately guide our carts for a gentle collision in aisle 3, just to relive that first moment. Sorry, I'm distracted today, he says with a conspiratorial smile. No worries, I reply, following the script of our very first conversation. It happens to everyone. And then we laugh together, oblivious to the curious stares of other customers who have no idea that they are witnessing the ongoing celebration of a love that began right there, between cereals and chocolates. If there's one thing I've learned on this journey, it's that the extraordinary often hides in the most common experiences. That a simple supermarket aisle can be the setting for the most important chapter of our lives. That sometimes, you have to travel thousands of miles away from home to finally find your true home. Not in a place, but in another person. Our story continues to be written, one page at a time. I don't know what the future holds, whether we'll eventually decide to settle definitively in Madrid, in Mumbai, or somewhere entirely new. What I do know for sure is that as long as we're together, any place will be home. If you're watching this video and you relate to our story, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Share in the comments an unexpected encounter that changed your life. Because I believe that we all have our own aisle 3. Those seemingly insignificant moments that, in hindsight, divided our lives into before and after. And we never know when we're about to turn a corner and collide with our own destiny.